My friend betrayed me to climb the social ladder, so I revealed the nasty things she said about everyone behind their backs. I'm typing this with my hands still shaking after what went down today. I think I just blew up my best friend's entire social life. And after what she did to me, I can't even feel as guilty as I probably should. Let's call my best friend Megan. We've been inseparable since middle school, that pair of weird, nerdy girls who always had each other's backs. I never imagined anything could come between us. We used to spend every weekend at each other's houses, whispering secrets late into the night about our crushes, our dreams, and yes, all the people at school we couldn't stand. Megan could be brutally honest in private, but I admired that about her. I thought it meant she trusted me completely. Everything started to change at the beginning of this year. We're juniors now, and out of nowhere, Megan became obsessed with climbing the social ladder. It was little things at first. She'd linger near the popular crowd in the cafeteria, laugh a bit too hard at their jokes, or volunteer to help the cheer squad with their posters, even though she'd always rolled her eyes at cheerleaders before. I thought it was weird, but I figured she just wanted to branch out. I tried to be supportive, even though it stung that she was suddenly too busy to sit with me at lunch most days. Then the gossip started. Megan would come over to my place and rant about how fake those cool kids were. She had a mean nickname for almost everyone in that clique. Stephanie the Slut. She'd snort about one girl on the dance team who dated 2 guys last year. Or Jason the Meathead, for the football star she claimed had the IQ of a goldfish. She'd roll her eyes and say how dumb the whole popular crew was, and how she was only hanging around them to observe their natural habitat like it was some science experiment. I remember feeling uncomfortable with how harsh she was, but I also laughed along sometimes. I didn't always like those people either, so hearing her roast them was entertaining in a guilty pleasure kind of way. But after winter break, something shifted. Suddenly, Megan wasn't mocking the popular kids anymore. She was one of them. It happened so fast it gave me whiplash. One minute we were joking about how ridiculous it was that the cheer captains threw a New Year's Eve party for the top-tier kids only. The next minute, Megan was at that very party, posting selfies with people she'd trashed just a week earlier. She barely even invited me. Actually, she didn't invite me at all. I found out scrolling Instagram alone at midnight on New Year's Eve, seeing Megan grinning with her arms slung around the very girl she'd called Stephanie the Slut. The caption read, "My girl's heart ringing in the new year right." I felt my stomach drop. When I asked Megan about it later, she gave me a half-hearted apology. "It was a last-minute thing," she said, avoiding my eyes. "Stephanie kind of spontaneously invited me. I would have asked you to come, but it was her place, and I couldn't exactly bring a +1. That hurt, but I swallowed it. I told myself I was being overly sensitive, that it was just one party. Over the next few weeks, though, Megan drifted further away. She stopped coming over to my house, stopped texting me funny memes during class. When I tried to make plans, she was always busy. Meanwhile, her social media was flooded with pictures of her at group hangouts. I wasn't invited to shopping sprees, movie nights, even a weekend trip to someone's lake house. I recognized all the people with her, the popular kids we used to snark about during sleepovers, and Megan fit right in with them, all glossy and smiling and carefree. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't jealous and lonely. My best friend basically dumped me to become a social butterfly. Still, I kept hoping it was a phase or something. Megan had been there for me through my awkward phases. Maybe I needed to be there for hers. So I gave her space and just tried to act normal when we did talk at school. I never confronted her about ditching me. I was too afraid of pushing her away completely. The betrayal came out of nowhere. At least I hadn't seen how far she'd gone until it slapped me in the face. It was last Friday, after school. One of the popular guys, Brandon, was throwing a big birthday bash at his house. Practically the whole junior class was invited, including me. Brandon's actually a pretty nice guy, and we're lab partners in chem, so he threw me an invite. I wasn't even sure I wanted to go. Showing up alone to a party where my former best friend would be glued to the popular crowd sounded like torture. But another friend of mine, really more of an acquaintance, a girl named Hannah, encouraged me. She said I could hang with her group if I felt awkward. I decided maybe I should go, if only to not sit at home feeling miserable. So I went. And at first, it was surprisingly okay. I stuck by Hannah and her boyfriend, sipping a soda and chatting a bit. I spotted Megan across the living room a few times, each time surrounded by people, laughing loudly, practically glowing. We didn't really interact. She gave me a little wave at one point, but that was it. It stung, but I tried to just enjoy the night in my own way. A couple hours in, they cranked up the music for dancing. That's when things got ugly. I was on the edge of the living room watching some people get goofy to a pop song when I heard something behind me. My own name. "Kate's just such a loser, I feel bad for her," a voice said, dripping with fake sympathy. Like, "Did you see that dress she's wearing? I swear she got it at a thrift store or something." I froze. The voice was Megan's. My face went hot. I was wearing a cute black dress that I was actually proud of. I had found it at a thrift store and thought it was vintage chic. Hearing Megan sneer at me, made my stomach twist. She was talking to Stephanie, yes, the same Stephanie, and a couple of the other girls by the snack table. They didn't seem to realize I was right there, half hidden by a tall potted plant. My heart hammered in my ears as Megan continued. Honestly, I'm kinda over her clinginess. Ever since I started hanging out with you guys, she's been so bitter. Like, sorry you don't have a life, girl, but don't take it out on me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Clingy, bitter. I'd given her space, never complained once to her about anything. And now she was painting me as some pathetic, jealous nobody to these girls. I felt a mix of heartbreak and boiling anger. This was my best friend, or who I thought my best friend was. I must have stepped or made a noise, because Stephanie glanced over and noticed me lurking there. Her eyes went wide, and she awkwardly cleared her throat. Megan spun around and came face to face with me. The color drained from her face so fast it was like someone flipped a switch. She opened her mouth. "Oh my God, Kate!" But I didn't let her finish. "Don't stop on my account, Megan," I said loudly, voice shaking. My whole body was shaking. Actually, I could barely keep my knees steady. "Please, continue telling everyone what a loser I am. This is fascinating." The small group around her had gone silent, eyes darting between us. The music was still thumping, but it felt like a spotlight was on the two of us. Megan let out a nervous laugh, trying to play it off. "Come on, it was just a joke," she said, reaching out as if to pat my arm or something. I jerked away from her. I could feel years of friendship and trust shattering inside me like a drop mirror. A joke? She had been trashing me to look cool, and it was a joke? I lost it. All the hurt and anger and betrayal just burst out of me, and I went for the jugular. "A joke? Like the ones you make about all your new friends behind their backs?" I practically yelled. Megan's eyes went huge. She tried to shush me, but I was on a roll now, voice raised enough that people nearby were turning to watch. I didn't even care. Some sort of righteous fury had taken over. If she wanted to climb the social ladder by stomping on me, I was damn well going to pull that ladder out from under her on my way down. "You want to talk about jokes, Megan?" I snarled, my voice startlingly loud over the music. I pointed in the general direction of Stephanie, who was hovering by the table looking uncomfortable. "How about what you called Stephanie last month? Or did you conveniently forget calling her Stephanie the slut for dating 2 guys last year?" A collective gasp came from our small audience. Stephanie's face went pale, then bright red. "What the hell?" she sputtered at Megan. I barely paused, swinging my gaze to one of the other girls standing there, a sweet girl named Emily, who was on the student council. "She called you an uptight priss who thinks she's better than everyone," I said, my voice sharp. I saw Emily's jaw drop. "And Jason?" I raised my voice even more, addressing the crowd now, as more people realized something big was happening and started to gather. Jason, the football player Megan once dubbed the meathead, was right behind Emily. He looked at me, then at Megan, confused. "Yeah, you, Jason." She said, "You have the IQ of a goldfish." Her words. "Dude, seriously?" Jason looked at Megan in disgust. Megan by now was in full panic mode. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "Stop it," she hissed, eyes shiny with tears. She looked around at the crowd, desperate. People were whispering, staring at her with judgment and shock. This was the exact opposite of what she wanted. Her shiny new friends now seeing her as the two-faced snake. I yanked my arm free. "Why? Feeling exposed, Megan? That's rich, considering how you've been talking shit about every single person who's been nothing but nice to you." My voice cracked on that last part. I was close to tears myself, out of rage and heartbreak. But I wasn't done yet. By now, the music had cut off. Someone must have paused the playlist, because the living room was quiet except for the murmurs of the crowd forming a circle around us. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Brandon, the birthday boy, and a few others watching with wide eyes. There had to be at least 30 people paying attention. Fine by me. I took a deep breath, tears threatening to blur my vision, and went for the final blow. "You all think Megan suddenly started liking you, right? Started wanting to be your friend? Well, she's been lying to all of you. You should hear the things she said about you behind your backs. The only reason she's even here is because she decided being popular was more important than being a decent person or a loyal friend." I practically spit out the words. "She's been using you guys to feel superior, and meanwhile she's been insulting every one of you when you're not around. Believe me, I've got receipts." At this point, Megan burst into tears. Actual sobbing, mascara-running tears. She kept saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it," reaching out towards Stephanie and Emily and whoever else. But no one was coming to her defense. Stephanie actually stepped back like Megan was contagious. Someone in the crowd, maybe one of the guys from the football team, said, "Damn, that's cold." And not about me, about Megan. I could see the realization hitting her that she had effectively detonated her own social standing. Ironically, by trying to climb higher, she'd sawed off the branch she was sitting on. I suddenly felt this intense weight of the moment. My heart was pounding and my hands were trembling uncontrollably. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I had exposed every nasty thing my best friend had ever said in confidence, to everyone who mattered to her. There was no coming back from this for either of us. For a second, my eyes met Megan's. Her face was a mess of tears and shock and betrayal. Betrayal at me, as if I was the traitor here. That pissed me off even more. But it also just hurt. This was the girl I had loved like a sister. The girl I would have taken a bullet for at one point. And now she was looking at me like I was a monster. Maybe I was in that moment. No one said anything for what felt like forever. My breathing was ragged. The crowd around us shifted uncomfortably. I realized I couldn't stand to be there another second. Without a word, I turned and shoved my way through the circle of people. They parted from me silently. I walked straight out the front door of the house, not even grabbing my coat or bag. I needed air, needed to get away. I vaguely heard someone call my name from behind. Hannah, I think. But I didn't stop. I walked and walked, 2 blocks in the cold night, before the adrenaline started to wear off, and I collapsed on a curb, gasping. Then I cried. I ugly cried until my throat hurt, there in the dark on the side of some suburban street. Half of it was heartbreak, mourning the friendship that used to mean the world to me, and half was this wild release of pent-up anger. I can't even describe it. I felt liberated and devastated all at once. Eventually, I heard footsteps, and someone draping my coat over my shoulders. It was Hannah, the acquaintance I'd stuck with earlier at the party. She'd grabbed my stuff for me. She didn't say anything, just sat next to me on the curb and let me cry. When I finally calmed down, she just murmured, "That was intense, huh?" I let out a wet laugh, wiping my nose on my sleeve. Understatement of the year. Hannah gave me a sad smile. For what it's worth, she deserved to be called out. That was so not okay what she said about you. Or everyone. She hesitated, then added, "But I'm sorry it went down like that. I know she was your friend." Was? Past tense. Yeah, that hit me hard. Megan was my friend, and now, I don't know what we are. Enemies? Strangers. I haven't spoken to Megan since that party, which was the end of last week. Over the weekend I stayed, mostly in my room. I ignored her frantic texts and calls that started coming in a few hours after the incident. At first they were a string of apology texts. Then they turned accusatory. One text just said, "How could you do this to me?" Then back to begging for me to talk to her. I couldn't handle it, so I muted her. Yesterday at school was the first time I saw Megan in person since everything. She looked like a wreck red puffy eyes, dressed in old sweatpants instead of her usual carefully chosen outfits. Usually she'd have a clique around her in the halls, but I saw her walking alone, staring at the floor. When she spotted me at my locker, she actually flinched and ducked away. I didn't approach her. I didn't know what to say. From what I've gathered through the rumor mill, word about Friday night spread like wildfire. Pretty much everyone in our grade now knows what happened. People are avoiding Megan or confronting her about the awful stuff she said. Stephanie apparently blocked her on everything and is telling anyone who'll listen that Megan is a, quote, two-faced bitch. Emily went to the guidance counselor because she was so upset that someone she thought was a friend actually hated her. A bit dramatic, but that's Emily. Even the guys on the football team are pissed. They have this tight bro code, and I heard Jason and a couple others cornered Megan to tell her to stay the hell away from them. As for me, I've been oddly invisible. I think people don't know what to make of me. They know I blew everything up, and sure, some people, like Hannah, have quietly told me that I did the right thing exposing a liar. Others might think I'm just as bad for airing private conversations, even if what I said was true. I walk through the halls and feel all the stares. Not sure if they're afraid of me or pitying me, or maybe both. I've gotten a few nods of respect from random kids I barely know, which is weird. One even said, "Savage girl," as she passed me, which I think was meant as a compliment. I just half smiled. I don't really feel proud. Okay, maybe a small part of me does. The part that remembers the look on Megan's face when she realized her empire of popularity was crumbling. But mostly I feel like I'm in a daze, like this is some alternate universe, or my best friend and I are mortal enemies now. I didn't set out to be some vigilante exposing the truth to everyone. It just kind of happened in the heat of the moment. It was like once I started, I couldn't stop. All the hurt she'd caused me just erupted. And yeah, I wanted to hurt her back. I wanted her to feel as humiliated and betrayed as I felt when I heard her tearing me down to those girls. In that moment, watching her cry and struggle to defend herself while everyone turned on her, I felt vindicated. Now, I mostly just feel empty and anxious about what comes next. High school drama moves fast. Today's scandal is tomorrow's old news, but the scars don't just disappear. Megan hasn't tried to talk to me at school, and I continue to ignore her texts. Part of me wonders if I should talk to her, maybe hear her out once emotions cool. Part of me never wants to speak to her again. Maybe both of those parts of me are right. I don't know. So yeah, I might have just permanently nuked the most important friendship of my life. But she was the one who lit the fuse by betraying me to climb her way up with the cool crowd. All I did was tell the truth about what she'd been saying about them all along. The social ladder she was so desperate to climb, I kicked it right out from under her. I'm not sure how to end this, or what I'm even asking for. I guess I just needed to get it off my chest. It hurts like hell, but at the same time, I feel like what I did needed to be done. Like ripping off a band-aid to expose an infection underneath. Maybe now I can finally start healing, even if things are messier first. I don't know what's gonna happen when I see Megan tomorrow at school again. Or the next day. All I know is that things will never be the same. Update 1. Hey everyone, I honestly didn't expect to update this, but life decided the drama wasn't over yet. It's been about a week since my original post, and things have somehow gotten even messier. Who could have guessed, right? First off, I want to say I read a lot of your comments and messages. The support and advice meant a lot, especially since I've been feeling like the whole school is either staring at me or avoiding me. So, thank you for that. Alright, on to the update. Remember how Emily, the student council girl I mentioned, was so upset she went to the guidance counselor? Well, that set off a whole chain reaction. A couple days after the party blow-up, I got called into the school counselor's office. I wasn't totally surprised. The vibe at school has been super weird, and I figured word reached some adult. Still, walking into that office made my stomach flip. The counselor, Mrs. Thompson, is a nice lady, but the moment I sat down and saw her concerned face, I knew this was going to be awkward. She said she was aware that a conflict happened between me and Megan and that it was affecting other students. Apparently, a few parents had even called about the fallout, her word, because their kids came home upset about the drama. I immediately thought of Emily and Stephanie. So yeah, it wasn't just some contained little spat parents and teachers were getting wind of it. Mrs. Thompson wanted to hear my side. I gave her a pretty toned-down version of events. I said that I felt hurt by a close friend and admitted I confronted Megan at a party, and that I may have said some things in the heat of the moment. I avoided going into all the gory details of who called who, a slut or a meathead. I figured she already heard the basics. She mostly listened and nodded, then asked how I was feeling. I'll admit, I got a bit emotional. I told her I was sad and angry and that I'd lost my best friend in all of this. She offered the classic counselor talk, like maybe Megan and I should have a mediated conversation to clear the air. I kind of scoffed at that. Clear the air? Really? But part of me also kind of wanted that, I think, some supervised setting where maybe we could both say our piece calmly. I eventually agreed to at least sit down with Megan if Megan was willing. In hindsight, that might have been a mistake. They pulled Megan from her class that afternoon and brought her into the counselor's office with me. The tension in that tiny room could suffocate a cat. Megan looked like she hadn't slept in days, bloodshot eyes, her hair just in a messy bun, very unlike her. The moment she saw me, her face hardened. I'm sure mine did too. We sat in 2 chairs, side by side, but as far apart as possible, if that makes sense. Mrs. Thompson started off by saying something about how we were longtime friends and it was painful to see us hurt each other, and she hoped we could talk it out constructively. Neither of us responded at first, so the counselor gently prompted Megan to speak. Megan mumbled something like, "I'm sorry for what I said about you." I could tell it wasn't exactly heartfelt, more like she was doing this because she had to. She then added, "And I'm sorry you felt the need to do what you did." That set me off. The need? As if I was just crazy and overreacting. I snapped back. "I didn't feel the need, Megan. You drove me to it by being two-faced." Megan's eyes flashed. She turned to the counselor and said in this shaky voice, "See, she hates me. She wants everyone else to hate me too. She basically ruined my life." I couldn't believe she was playing victim like that. I shot back, "Your actions ruin your life, not me. Maybe you shouldn't say horrible crap about people who are nice to you." Megan then really let loose. She said something like, "You think you're so innocent? You laughed along with me, you even said stuff too. Don't act like you're better than me." My jaw literally dropped. I stammered, "What stuff? I never called anyone names like you did." Mrs. Thompson was trying to interject, telling us to calm down, but we were way past that. Megan went on, voice rising. "Oh, please. Like you didn't joke about Stephanie or the others. Maybe I started it, but you were right there with me half the time. You're not some saint for exposing me. You just wanted payback." I was so angry and, honestly, scared that she might not be entirely wrong. Yeah, I did laugh sometimes when she made fun of them. Maybe I even contributed a couple of mild insults in agreement. I honestly don't remember. It was possible. In the moment, though, I denied it. I told the counselor Megan was just trying to drag me down with her because she was desperate. Megan just crossed her arms and shrugged. Believe what you want. At this point, Mrs. Thompson firmly cut in, trying to de-escalate. She reiterated something about how we both said hurtful things and that continuing to hurt each other won't fix anything. She asked us if we could try to move forward, not necessarily as friends, but at least be civil, and maybe keep private conflicts off the public stage, i.e. not dragging the whole school into it. I was silent because, what was I supposed to say? Megan sniffled and said quietly, "I've already lost everything. I don't care anymore." And she started to cry, right there. It was uncomfortable. I felt a pang of guilt seeing her cry, but also frustration. It felt manipulative, even if it wasn't on purpose. I just sat there, chewing my lip, while the counselor handed her tissues and rubbed her back. Eventually, the meeting ended with Mrs. Thompson suggesting we both take a bit of time apart. No kidding. And maybe talk again in a more calm state later. We shuffled out without looking at each other or saying anything. So yeah, that attempt at mediation was a train wreck. It didn't fix squat. If anything, it made me even more conflicted. On one hand, seeing Megan so broken down made part of me sad. On the other hand, she still managed to piss me off by trying to paint me as equally bad. In the days after that, I noticed a shift at school. Remember how people were treating me kind of carefully? Well, I started getting some side-eye and cold shoulders from a few folks I hadn't expected. For example, one of the guys from the football team, who'd been sort of neutral to me before, outright ignored me when I said hi in the hall. And I could swear Stephanie and her friends whispered something and giggled when I walked by, like I was the joke now. At first I thought I was being paranoid, but then Hannah, bless her, clued me in. Apparently, Megan or someone had been talking, spreading the idea that I was also a gossip and a snake. Hannah heard from a friend that Megan told a couple of people something along the lines of, "Well, Opie was laughing at all those jokes too. She's not innocent. She only exposed me to make herself look good." Basically, Megan's trying to take me down with her. And it might be working. At least a little. People are so addicted to drama that they're now gossiping about whether I'm just as two-faced. I haven't seen any actual evidence, like screenshots or whatever, being passed around, but at this point, I wouldn't put it past Megan to show our private text to folks. She probably still has them all, if she does. I'm nervous about what I might have said. My memory of any specific comments is fuzzy, but I know I wasn't a total angel either. So here I am, a week later, feeling like the ground under my feet is cracking even more. I'm not sure how to handle this new development. Do I try to defend myself? Do I confront Megan again and demand she stop dragging me through the mud? Part of me is tempted to post screenshots of her being awful without context, just to remind everyone how this started. But that feels like pouring gasoline on a fire, and I think everyone's had enough of our drama, including me. Hannah and a couple of my other quieter friends are still by my side, so I'm not completely alone. But I can sense some people keeping their distance now, unsure what to believe. It sucks. It's like I'm losing more than I bargained for. I wanted justice, or maybe just revenge, and I got it. But now I'm dealing with the collateral damage. This whole situation is blowing up in both our faces. I'll update again if anything major happens, but honestly, I'm starting to think there won't be any neat resolution to this. Just a lot of lessons learned the hard way. Update 2. Final. It's been a few months now, and I guess this is going to be my final update because, well, there's not much left to say, even though nothing really got fixed. A lot has happened, and yet not much has changed, if that makes sense. After my last update, I basically kept my head down for the rest of the school year. The rumors about me being a gossip died down a bit, mostly because there was no new fuel. I never confronted Megan again after that disastrous counselor meeting. We just avoided each other like the plague. It was like we both silently agreed to stay in our own corners. She stopped trying to talk to me, and I stopped worrying about what she might be saying behind my back. By April, the whole thing was old news for most people, even though the awkwardness between us lingered. Megan pretty much dropped off the social map. She wasn't hanging out with the popular crowd, obviously, but she didn't really integrate into any other group either. I'd see her alone in the library, or eating lunch outside by herself. She and I share a couple classes, and she'd just sit quietly, not raising her hand much or chatting. It was a huge contrast to the way she used to be at the center of everything. I'm sure it was humiliating for her. A couple times I caught myself almost feeling sorry for her again, almost. But then I'd remember the things I overheard her say about me, and I'd harden up. One thing I didn't expect, I ended up feeling just as isolated in some ways. I still had Hannah and a few decent people to sit with at lunch, and I focused on my studies a lot. But I wasn't exactly Miss Popular either. Not that I ever was. Some of the popular kids who'd cheered me on for exposing Megan eventually kind of forgot about me or kept their distance. And other kids who didn't know us well just knew drama happened and steered clear. It was a lonely spring semester for both me and Megan, ironically. We'd pass each other in the hallway like strangers. It was surreal and sad, if I'm honest. Fast forward, summer break. I thought time away from the school environment might help me get over everything. And I guess it did, a little. I picked up extra shifts at my part-time job, hung out with Hannah now and then, and tried not to think about Megan at all. We had zero contact. She unfollowed me on everything. I had unfollowed her back in January, so whatever. It was like she vanished, except I'd occasionally see her social media posts through other friends' activity, though she posted way less than she used to. Here's where it gets a bit dramatic again. Toward the end of summer, I heard through the grapevine that Megan wasn't coming back to our school for senior year. The news actually came from my mom, of all people. Turns out, Megan's mom and mine are in the same book club, small world striking at the worst time. My mom sat me down one evening and gently asked what happened between me and Megan. She said she'd heard from Megan's mother that the girls had a falling out, and that Megan was transferring to a private school for senior year, because she needed a fresh start. I was stunned. I knew things were bad, but I didn't think she would actually leave the school over it. My mom didn't know the details, thank God, and I sure as hell wasn't going to fill her in on all the trash talk and drama. I just told her that we grew apart and had some personal conflicts, which is the understatement of the century. Mom dropped a hint that Megan had had a rough time, and even insinuated Megan had been seeing a therapist for anxiety/depression. That gave me a heavy feeling in my gut. Part of me was like, well, play bitch games, win bitch prizes. But another part of me felt sick and guilty hearing that she was in such a bad place she had to switch schools. Senior year started a couple weeks ago without Megan. On the first day, I saw her old locker assigned to some freshmen. It really hit me then that she was gone for good. I won't lie, I have so many mixed emotions. Relief, definitely. I won't have to tense up every time I turn a corner, wondering if I'll run into her. But also sadness. It's like the final nail in the coffin of a friendship that was basically my entire childhood. She's just Sieber. Gone. Before she left, she didn't reach out to me. No apology, no goodbye. Not that I expected one at that point, and I didn't reach out to her either. Pride, anger, hurt. Call it what you want, but I couldn't do it. So things ended not with another explosion, but with a long, drawn-out fizzle. A cold war that just went silent when she disappeared from my life.